Chairman Pillmeyer, Majority Leader Bonasek, Minority Leader Berkman, Leader Amo, members of the Orange County Legislature, fellow citizens and taxpayers of Orange County. As required by the Orange County Charter, it is my duty and obligation to present the budget for the coming fiscal year to you on or before October 1st of each year. This 2013 budget is the 11th budget I have had that privilege to present to the Orange County Legislature. I'm exceptionally proud of our track record of presenting a balanced, common sense budget on time each and every of those 11 years. Over that time, we have presented more than $6 billion in budgets. Budgets that this legislature has worked with and has had a track record of passing overwhelmingly. Accomplishing that goal, balanced and on time, is no small feat. A great deal goes to our budget planning each and every year, and that process starts in May. In August, each and every county office department, division, elected official presents their budget and makes their case to me, my staff, Budget Director Blair, and his able-bodied planning team. In recent years, especially this year, most department heads have left that meeting with direction to sharpen their pencils, tighten their belts, and think creatively so that we can do more with less for another year. This, however, has not always been the case. In preparing for this year's budget address, my staff and I took a look back at budget addresses from previous years. There was a time before we felt the brunt of the global financial crisis that rocked the economies all around the world, including right here in Orange County. When I stood before you and spoke of spending priorities, hiring plans, and a comfortable surplus in the county's general fund. Tragically, this is no longer the case. Ongoing financial hardship, the likes of which we have not seen since the Great Depression, skyrocketing fuel costs, the mandates imposed on our county by state and federal governments have left each of us feeling the effects where it hurts most, and that's in our wallets, in our pocketbooks, forcing us to make some very difficult choices. Each of the past 5 years, I felt that this year's budget was the most challenging ever, even harder to balance than that year before. Each year, we looked for new ways to trim expenses. We implemented hiring freezes, eliminated travel, renegotiated purchasing contracts, reduced overtime, and negotiated new contract with some of our collective bargaining units so that we could stretch our dollars just a little bit further. Eliminating the paid lunch hour for new employees a few years ago resulted in the savings, as of yesterday, of over $9 million. And I believe it was $9,800,000 and something. And by the end of the year, that'll put us over $10 million. By eliminating a paid lunch hour for new employees only, not existing employees, $10 million. Everyone has tried new and innovative ways to serve people. Following last year's summer storms, Clerk Donna Benson began a project of digitizing records in order to save space and to preserve our county records. More than $50,000 a year in savings are projected as a result of this initiative. Thank you, Donna. And when we thought the financial picture couldn't get any worse, the mandates, more and more stringent, the demands any greater when we thought that there might be actually a light at the end of that tunnel, we were wrong. If this were a movie and you were writing this script, the light would be a train heading right at you, not going away from you any longer. Our county has not yet recovered from last year's storms. Fuel costs continue to rise. We continue to get pounded by mandates. $22.5 million more of county taxation this year in this new budget, and the economic outlook continues to look bleak. And we're certainly not the only ones who think this is going to feel the effects of this sluggish economy, not just us. Businesses as well. This week, Caterpillar, the world's largest mover of earth, a maker of earth-moving equipment, announced that they expect fairly anemic and modest growth through the year 2015. Caterpillar is considered a key barometer for measuring the health of manufacturing, mining, and construction industries. That's scary. The company's announcement and the adjustment of their earnings forecast is a sure sign that much remains to be done to heal this economy. Other indicator companies, including railroad operator Norfolk Southern, as well as FedEx and UPS, have also blamed slower worldwide demand on their weaker financial results in their forecasts. If people don't have the money to spend, companies aren't building. They're not manufacturing, they're not shipping, and they're not creating jobs. It is a vicious, interrelated cycle. Fortunately, this administration's commitment to financial prudence and fiscal responsibility, along with this legislature, has served us well during these most difficult of times. While counties around the state and the nation have been teetering on the brink of bankruptcy or worse, falling right off the cliff, we in Orange County have been able to hold our own and weather the storm. We received a AAA bond rating from Moody's Investors 3 years ago. Moody's rates 48 counties in the state of New York and 940 nationally. We are extremely proud to be one of only 2 counties in all of New York State to hold that distinction, and just one of 87 nationally to hold that same distinction. We should all be proud of that. Residents, you should certainly be proud of that, and the legislature as well. Our experienced finance team, under the leadership of Commissioner Joel Kleiman, strives to ensure that our county finances and related reporting are in order and compliant with all state and federal regulations. For 16 years in a row, 16 years, Orange County has been recognized for excellence in financial reporting by the Government of Finance Officers Association of the United States for the presentation of our comprehensive annual financial reports. That's something to be proud of. This recognition affirms that we comply with all general accepting accounting standards and is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting. It has been our prudent financial management, and up to this point, a strong working relationship with our county legislators, along with a measure of good fortune that has carried us through thus far, providing us with the necessary cushion to see our county through the most difficult of times. These difficult times, however, have carried on far longer than I believe, or anyone, I think, would anticipate it would take this long. Over the past few years, in order to balance our budget, we have been forced to rely on our general fund surplus more than we wanted to. A step that was necessary for us to take once again this year. A step that we are indeed fortunate to be able to take. However, if we continue in this way, we will no longer have this surplus to rely on during our most times of need. With those thoughts in mind, we have crafted an operating budget for the fiscal year 2013 that will allow Orange County to continue to meet the needs of our residents to the best of our abilities, provide critical programs and services, and preserve and protect our county's long-term financial health as the economic challenges that plague our state and our nation continue. Today I present to you the Orange County Legislature and the people of Orange County a proposed operating budget for the fiscal year 2013 in the amount of $715.9 million. This proposed budget represents an increase of just 0.4 over last year's approved budget of $712.9 million. Just shy of the $40 million in general fund, just shy of $40 million, though, was needed in the general fund surplus to balance this budget. The challenges presented to us in preparing this year's budget were extraordinary and forced us to scrutinize every dollar requested like never, ever before. As not only the county exec, but as your chief financial officer, I am committed to doing what is right for the people, all of the people who call this great county their home. Of this total budget, $375.6 million will be collected locally through sales and property taxes. You can see that chart, it's pretty clear. Go back to this, please. On where the money comes from, pretty clear. Our Orange County sales tax rate will remain the same at 3.34% and is projected to generate more than $263 million in revenue for this county, of which $193.8 million will be retained by the county and nearly $70 million will be distributed amongst the county's, Orange County's municipalities, the towns, the cities, and the villages. Hopefully to help them keep their taxes down and not just spend the money. But $70 million, that's the best sharing tax agreement in the entire state of New York to maintain those levels for our locals as well as the County of Orange. You should all be proud of that. With a 1.75 increase in the tax levy proposed in 2013 as well, Orange County will stay well within the governor's 2% property tax cap. 1.75, or a quarter of a point under what the governor recommends. We feel that's prudent. The 2013 property tax rate will be $3.55 per thousand. As a result of that, 6 municipalities will realize a decrease in their property tax rate. Of those remaining, most will see an increase of less than 51 cents. And I believe if you look at that chart, the 51 is even only in 1 or 2 communities, and everyone else is down much less than that. Our residents and taxpayers need to know, have a right to know, where their money is spent and where it is going. I'd like to be able to say that Orange County taxpayer money is all used right here in Orange County. But the truth of that matter is, it has come to a point where there are fewer and fewer local dollars left to be put to work for local purposes and local services. State and federal mandated programs are eating us alive. Remember that Pac-Man game? Eating us alive, just like Pac-Man. They account for $530 million, or 74% of this $715 million budget. 74% go to federal and state mandated services. Social services programs alone require $103 million, or 91% of our total annual collected county tax dollars of $112 million. 91% of it goes to social services. And if you look at that chart, in 2006 was $175 million, and now it's pushing $235 million just in the cost of Medicaid, which needs revision badly here in New York State. While I truly believe that it is our duty as a county to help provide for our neighbors in need, in a time of need, I believe just as strongly that the onerous mandated programs and state-imposed property tax caps force us to operate as if we had one hand tied behind our backs, and soon we'll have two hands tied behind our backs. And it has been this way not just for a couple of years, it's been this way for decades. And we have asked as counties across this state for decades to help with mandate relief, and it just falls on deaf ears. Unbelievably, 9 New York State mandated programs consume 90% of the property taxes collected statewide. 9 programs, 90% of the money. In Orange County, these 9 mandated programs account for $255 million of our gross budget. Medicaid, and you can see we listed them, and we're going to talk about a few of them. Medicaid at $82 million. For Medicaid alone, our required support of this program effectively crowds out the additional county services that we always try to provide. The public assistance safety net programs cost our county $47 million a year. In recent years, New York State has continued to transition public assistance programs to counties, not to the state, by effectively removing all state financial support for program and administrative costs. Child welfare, protective and preventive services. The state has abandoned its commitment to the safety, service delivery, continuing care and adoption, and a well-being of a child by simply cutting state reimbursement by 3%. So for children's services, they cut 3%. Capping state reimbursement for detention and foster care while adding new mandates at the same time. So our most vulnerable, our children, the state continues to cut back, and who picks it up? The counties. Preschool, special education, and early intervention programs. 2 more on this list of 9 will cost Orange County $45.2 million in 2013. What do I believe? I believe it belongs in the schools. Why does it belong in the counties? We don't run schools. Maybe we should, but we don't. So why is those programs that are school-related programs belong in the counties? I know why. I know why they do it. Because your school taxes are too high already. I get it. The normal school tax is about 74 or 76% of your entire tax bill when you get that tax bill. It's too much money. We have to reform how we pay for schools. We need schools. Education is number 1. But how do we pay for it? We've asked the state for decades. The state does nothing.
Lottery money, remember that.
Rounding out the 9 mandated heavy hitters, having an impact on our county budget, are indigent defense at $5.7 million, youth detention at $5.1 million, probation at $10.7 million, and last but certainly not least, the cost of employee pensions. Remarkably, employee pension rates have increased yet again by 11% for the year 2013. This proposed budget contains $25.6 million for New York State pension costs. That's following an increase of 12% just last year. Just so you get that, $26 million from this county to New York State. Maybe they should have controlled better in an economic time on how they controlled the fund. I don't think they did. Related employee benefits expenses include an additional $45 million budgeted for hospitalization costs and $5.9 million for workmen's compensation expenses. Total employee costs projected for 2013 in this budget, $90.7 million. There you have it. Mandated expenses, primarily these big nine, consume the lion's share of the property tax dollars collected by our county, leaving us little to say how we like to use the money for our good of our residents, the services we should provide here, leaving us little left over to provide for the programs and services that people who live here expect and certainly deserve. Looking on the bright side, we're clearly doing things right. Orange County remains one of the fastest growing counties in the state of New York. For the third year in a row, we have been recognized by the Americans Promise Alliance as one of the 100 best communities for young people. And our community college is in the midst of one of the largest building projects in any school in SUNY this year or last year. 2 campuses, Newburgh and Middletown, enhancing the coursework and enhancing our students to be able to further their lot in life by getting an education. No better way to spend money. And I applaud the legislature for going right along with that. To have affordable, quality, high education opportunities right here at home. Supporting the educational needs of our residents will pay long-term dividends for our county. Businesses want an educated workforce, a workforce that understands technology, communications, not just for today's world, but for a workforce that is prepared for tomorrow as well. That's why we will be contributing $17.6 million to the county community college for the year 2013. It's an increase of about 0.14, pretty low. But we made sure that we kept that within the reason as well, just like we did throughout this entire budget. To that end, I have also included funding for the library systems in Literacy Orange. It is unique quality of life we have here in Orange County that make people want to come here, live here, work here, play here. In fact, 2 of New York State's most popular tourist attractions are right here in Orange County. Woodbury Common, keep spending your money, and the United States Military Academy. Right here. 2 of the top 5 in New York State, right in Orange County, New York, for tourists to come, stay here, stay overnight here, and enjoy Orange County. We're proud of that. Even in the toughest of economic times, it is important that we continue and promote the organizations that we work with to ensure that this quality of life is maintained for future generations to cherish and to enjoy. And in the toughest of economic times, it is even more significant when there are opportunities close to home. While I wish that we could include funding for all non-for-profit organizations that made requests, the current economy climate makes that just impossible. We have proposed funding for some that share our commitment to preserving and promoting great quality of life. These include the Orange County Land Trust, the Orange County Arts Council, Farmland Protection, and the Orange County Historical Society, to name just a few. People want to live, work, and recreate in a place where they feel safe from harm. The fact that the Orange County continues to be one of the fastest growing counties in New York State is a testament to our commitment to ensuring strong public safety. Sheriff Carl Du Bois and his office work diligently to keep our community safe. An example, just last Friday, they acted swiftly following a break-in and a burglary at the 1841 courthouse. Less than 24 hours later, working quickly with the Village of Goshen Police Force, District Attorney Frank Phillips and his office, a suspect was in custody in 24 hours. That's a true testament. Sheriff, I think you're back there. Thank you, and Frank, I know you're in the room. So thank you for what you did. The 2013 proposed budget includes funds in the amount of $16.3 million for the Sheriff's Office. Excuse me. Choosing a career in law enforcement takes personal commitment, sacrifice, and a considerable amount of training, a lot of training. When it comes to fighting crime, there's no room for mistakes, and that can mean the difference between life and death. Can't make that mistake. That's why I'm proud to include $25,000 in the budget for the Orange County Police Academy. Thank you to all our residents who choose this very challenging career path. Very challenging. We're proud to continue and enhance our training programs for EMS and fire services as well. Without their invaluable volunteerism, lives would certainly be lost. So thank you to EMS and fire and police. Thank you for what you did. Orange County's three cities, Middletown, Newburgh, and Port, are the anchors of our county and community life, and are here home to a large concentration of our county residents as well. As we have felt the hardships of the difficult economy, it has been compounded for them as well. To help the cities enhance their budgets and continue programs that are important to their residents, Orange County will contribute $25,000 each to these cities to support their fine efforts. I think Mayor DeStefano is in the room. Thanks, Joe, for what you do, and hopefully that helps in your budget times. Not only are we a fast-growing county, currently home to more than 372,000 people. Who ever thought of that? Little, quiet Orange County? Now 372,000 people. Orange is considerable in size as well. We border on the east by the Hudson River and on the west by the Delaware. We encompass more than 835 square miles. Pretty big. And it takes the better part of an hour to travel from our easternmost city to our westernmost city is about an hour, 50-minute drive. I do it often, try it. Of course, with a county of this size comes a great deal of infrastructure that must be cared for and maintained. Orange County's Department of Public Works under Chuck Lee, a great commissioner, and his staff do an outstanding job. Orange County Department of Public Works is responsible for 315 miles of roadway and 152 bridges throughout Orange County. The proposed 2013 budget contains funding of $16.6 million for ongoing maintenance to our roads and our bridges and our infrastructure. When it comes to discussing what makes our county stronger, better, I would be remiss if I did not include economic development. I may sound like a broken record, but it's all about jobs, jobs, and jobs. Even our great governor now says the same thing, bring in the jobs. We want job opportunities for our residents. We want them for our children and our grandchildren to be able to live here, work here, and have the desire to stay here. But for that to be a reality, they need to be able to find good paying jobs right here in Orange County. That's why Orange County government works closely with partner agencies, including the Orange County Partnership, the Orange County Chamber of Commerce, Pattern for Progress, the Industrial Development Agency, the Business Accelerator, Hudson Valley Economic Development Corporation, and the State Economic Development Corporation to attract and retain businesses right here in Orange County. With those businesses come jobs, construction, investment, and so much more. It's a ripple effect felt throughout the entire county. For a real-life example of one of our success stories, take a drive down Old Mansion Road in Blooming Grove for a look at the new MediaCom headquarters building, nearing its final phase of construction. Up there on that mountain, it looks gorgeous. It looks gorgeous. By appealing to MediaCom, the 8th largest cable TV company in the nation, to stay here, not leave Orange County. We were able to retain 250 jobs that were in the county, and they're telling us in the next few years they will bring 150 additional. That will be over 400 jobs. And more than $40 million was invested just to build that building, right here in Orange County. That's a true testament. I'd like to thank Deputy County Executive Jim O'Donnell and his team right here, upstairs, working hard to accomplish this, to keep MediaCom right here in Orange County. I can't count the number of times that Jim and I spoke to Rocco directly on the phone. We happen to know him for many years, and we convinced him, the state convinced him to stay right here in Orange County. Absolutely. Okay, now this gets a little complicated. Not complicated, a little things we have to discuss. Let's talk about how we were able to balance this year's budget. The availability of the general fund surplus played a significant role, and I really have to explain this chart because I think it could get a little complicated, but I think you have to hear this chart on what it means and what the surplus means to all of us. You can look here, you've got this. So if we start at the top line, we have $67 million that was in our undesignated fund balance, our general surplus. To start, 11. You say, well, we're talking 12 and 13, what about 11? Well, 67 is a key number. We used fund balance in 2013's budget, and that is around $40 million that we are going to use. A little less, but around 40. And then you'll see we had to put another $3 million in to fund Valley View between October and December of this year, which we did. We did it, I guess, this week, and it'll get voted on later in this week from the legislature. So that now leaves us $24 million. And I tried to make this as simple as I could so the people could understand it. The legislature, I think most of them do, but the people have to understand this. Anticipated fund balance needed to fund Valley View for 13, if that occurs. We're not sure that's going to occur yet. We're going to find that out very quickly in my budget, but we're also going to find out what the legislature does. But if that were to happen, you see what happens. The fund balance after the 13 process leaves us $4 million. $4 million. That's important. We project that at the end of 12, we're putting money back in. There's no question. We think it's 20 million. Could be 25. Could be 15. Let's say it's 20. That means we have 24 million left. Maybe 30 million. I hope we get 100 million left over, okay? Not happening, but I hope we did. Then we have no complaint, no worries. But we don't, that will not be the truth. So 24 million, maybe 30. Let's anticipate that in 14, because we've got to talk about next year, we use 40 again to balance this budget. Let's anticipate that. Hopefully we don't have to, but let's anticipate that. It leaves us, and the reason that's in red, black is positive and red is negative, we're now $16 million in the hole. I don't like that. You shouldn't like that. The people I know, you don't like that. We never, ever, as long as I've been involved in this county government, and that's now 12 and 11, 23 years, have we ever been in that position. I don't intend to get us there. The legislature shouldn't get us there. All of the county executives didn't get us there. All of the past legislators didn't get us there. They all worked hard, collectively, together. Because that's what this is about, togetherness. It's not political nonsense, this is togetherness. I can't let that happen as your chief elected official and financial officer of this county, and I won't. But the public has to hear it, and the public's gonna hear it. Because that's truth. That's reality. That's 2 auditing firms, licensed. That's our budget director for 33 years, his department. That's our financial commissioner for over 20 years, talking. Not at Diana talking. And I have a great staff. That's who's talking. Those numbers are right. Yeah, they could change 4 or 5 million. Either way, I'll change them 10 million. I'm still 6 million in the hole. I don't like that. And I'm not going to let us get there. Last but certainly not least, let's get to the topic that's weighing most heavily on everyone's minds and hearts. In your hearts, I get that, because it's weighing on mine as well. And it has been for over a year and a half. And I don't sleep very well at night. That's the truth. Because there's difficult decisions we have to make. Easy ones and hard ones. But I was elected to do both, easy and hard. That's what's going to be done with Valley View, obviously. That's why a lot of us are here tonight. This has truly been the most difficult budget planning process I have ever been through in my 11 years as county executive, and my other years as a county legislator as well. I thank Budget Director Blair. I think he'll agree with me that this was the toughest, right, Neil? Just when we think funds couldn't get any worse, any tighter, expenses any greater, mandates any stricter, it gets worse and worse. And to think our financial outlook is stronger than most, and it is, it's stronger than most. Orange County is the envy of counties still throughout the state of New York. That's because we have been conservative in our decision making and planning and fiscally prudent. Prudence has been our guide for an awful lot of years. An awful lot of county executives and an awful lot of legislators. Not just us, way before us, and got us to this point. Let's be mindful of that. I've made the tough decisions, even when there have been displeasing to many others. I don't like that. I like people to like me. Sure I do. Who doesn't? Because that's my job, though. My job is easy and hard. As not only county executive, but as your chief financial officer, I have a financial responsibility to do what is right for all 372,000 people in this county. All of them. All the workers. The close to 2,500 we have. All the workers.